Hi, welcome back to Tech and 10. My name is Tommy Heffernan, veterinary consultant. So each week we have 10 minutes, let's go. Okay, this week we're going to talk about summer scar syndrome. It's kind of linked in, but we've had a query from a farmer talking about this issue that they've seen on farm, and a few farmers have seen around cows with rumen health issues and milk drop around this time of year. Also, I suppose summer scar syndrome's coming up. If we think about, they're obviously two different things, but there may be some similarities when we think about it. Issues at springtime with turnout, particularly in the next couple of weeks when things are warming up and grass growth is going ahead. So if we think about calves and summer scar, say animals in their first grazing season, a couple of things to remember. I have seen, for weaning calves indoors, having full, good developed rumen before we turn out is important. Certainly calves that have poor rumen development at turnout do worse or get worse symptoms of summer scar syndrome. It doesn't eliminate it. What does good rumen development mean? It means that they're probably on at least 1.5 to 2 kilos of concentrate a day for 4 to 5 days before weaning time. So they're on a good amount of feed. And probably looking at hay, haylage, or silage, dry silage, good quality forage, conserved forage going into their diet as well. Why is that important? Well, if we think about forage, grass is a forage here at turnout. So this is turnout. Grass is a forage. Silage and haylage are forages. So you have a more adapted rumen microbial microbes to that, because when they go out to spring grass, then the challenge with calves in their first grazing season is they're selective grazers. So they're kind of picking a bit of grass, they're experimenting. So they'll tend to go for the tips of the grass, the top of the grass, the leafy tissue, and that's the lush grass that's higher in protein. It's twice the protein, twice the nitrogen, and actually twice the oils of the grass down lower, and that's very hard on the developing young rumen. So there's actually proper research, first research paper really that I have read, done by UCD, I think 24-25, where they looked at summer scar syndrome, and one of the findings was that higher nitrogen, okay, may be leading to higher ammonia and blood urea, okay, urea in the blood. So that would make sense when we think about the clinical symptoms of calf presenting with summer scar syndrome. Obviously, they're scouring, they're losing condition. But the big one I would say is that, a lot of them have proper summer scar. They have ulceration on the mouth, esophagus, and you often see that with high blood urea, okay? So selective grazers, that's one challenge. We want to develop rumen, so we want to develop that rumen. We mentioned that. Selective grazers, strip grazing is one way of solving that. A lot of farms that have strip grazed calves in the first strip grazing, in the first couple of weeks, turnout, that's worked well. The other thing we see that is, if we think about fertilizer application, and this is probably an issue for our cows as well. The farmer was asking me about the rumen health issues that he's seen, the milk drop. What we're seeing with nitrogen going out, if it goes out early and temperatures are low, what we can get with the right conditions, moisture and heat, we can get massive nitrogen uptake by the plant, leading to more nitrates and nitrites in the rumen. And I think that's having quite a negative impact on rumen health. So something similar in summer scar syndrome, regardless of your rumen development strip grazing, we need to be, if we're putting calves out onto paddocks where there was, fertilizer 2 to 3 weeks ago, you're getting the right conditions now, that may be a risk as well. It's certainly something people are talking about on the rumen side. Again, common things are common. If we're getting scour and calves with ill thrift, parasites are still number one. Coccidiosis is still common. And also high molybdenum. So we see high molybdenum leading to copper lockup. So you'll see that in a lot of farms. So when you've those things ruled out, parasites, coccidiosis, and molybdenum ruled out, and copper lockup, then we look at rumen development, strip grazing calves, and just be careful with that fertilizer application as well. Precision Microbes in this whole story of summer scar syndrome, very interesting. When we launched Precision Microbes back in 2022, in that summer, the first time it was actually kind of becoming commercially available was around this time of year, actually, after the first calving season. And a lot of people were using it at a higher dose rate for summer scar syndrome. And it nearly got pigeonholed in, even though it was not designed for that, as a treatment for summer scar syndrome. It definitely helps. 100 mils, 4 to 5 days. We are doing some work, so we've been doing some work on cows and rumen, a rumen product for a while now. So if you're interested, if you're a farm that has had issues with rumen health issues, rumen drops, a lot of times with the collars now we can measure these, or summer scar syndrome, we have a new product that we're trialing on farm at the moment. Info at precisionmicrobes.com. The details will be on the screen there. You can send us an email and a bit more detail about your farm. You may be applicable for our trials. Only apply for the trial product through the email, because we want to keep a track of it. But it's an interesting product in the whole summer scour space as well. So yeah, as we look at spring turnout now, my advice is on calves. Look at weaning time, having the right amount of concentrates, putting the right forage in there, haylage, hay or silage, definitely helps with rumen development. Strip grazing calves to avoid that challenges with them being selective grazers, and just look at your fertiliser application, particularly on paddocks where first grazers is going out. And I think that's the same even with cows. We have to be mindful of that from now on. It's got the right conditions. It's just warming up and you have moisture there as well, so you'll see growth. Precision microbes can be used in treatment of summer scar syndrome, 100 mils for 4 to 5 days orally. And if you want to know more about our trial work, info at precisionmicrobes.com with that new product. Okay, happy safe farming. See you next week for Tech in 10.